Losers Bracket Podcast, round 120. And tonight we have two great guests joining us. Alex Jebailey, after an amazing event last week, CEO 2012. He will be here to give us a little bit of recap and a little bit of look to the future as well, what he might have in store for us next year. And of course, Evo is just next week as well. And then afterward, we will be joined by Tumba to talk a little bit about the new eSports management group that just launched. Should be a really great show. I'm looking forward to our two guests. As always, I have my co-hosts, Lord Jareth of vVv Gaming and Kurt Keyhunt Carter from Check 6. Kurt, how have you been for the last week? What's going on in the world of Check 6 gaming, my friend?
A lot of stuff going on this week, man. We got the, for Check 6 at least, we have the ESEA Winners Finals going on tonight versus Infinity 7. So cross your fingers there. Hopefully we'll do well. We'll see. As far as esports, lots of stuff going on this week. I cannot wait to talk about CEO because I was able to watch a little bit of that. You know me. I'm not the biggest fighting game guy. It was an amazing event. And with esports management group, what can you say there, man? So much to talk about there. So I'm interested.
Indeed.
Jerry,
indeed.
How about you, buddy?
Wow. Evo upcoming, so that's really big. That's probably the big news for us. Been looking at Smite, which is a lot of fun. Been playing that this weekend. Aside from that, what else? I mean, we'll talk about CEO here in a bit, and I sort of set a mandate for fun, and next week I'll be at Los Angeles in the LA area at Riot Games for a conversation. So I'm excited about that. So I got to travel next week to Santa Monica, California. So hopefully that'll be good. So that's what's on my radar screen.
Very cool. Well, I say we get things right underway if possible. We have our first guest of the night primed and ready to go, Mr. Jebailey. It's been about 15 episodes since the last time you were on the show, my friend, but welcome back. Coming off such a great event here in Orlando. I had the pleasure of attending in person. Welcome back to the Losers Bracket, my friend, and how have you been? How are you feeling after this huge event?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Thank you for having me back. It took me literally 6 days to recover before I wanted to get out of bed and actually go to work. But it was a great event. I had a great time running it. Actually, it wasn't stressful at all for some weird reason. I had such an amazing staff and help, and I really had fun putting it on. So it was really easy to me in some ways. Not really many hiccups or anything, but it was great. I'm glad it's kind of over and I can start working on the next one.
No, definitely. And I hate to jump right to the future, but I'd love to know. You told me a little bit. You've shown the picture of the Octagon on Facebook. Any other big plans you've got for 2013 already, or was that just a false thing, or are you actually going to plan on trying to do that?
You know, I have a lot of crazy ideas. I would love to get an Octagon. I think that's the next step. But realistically, after realizing camera work and inside of it, outside of it, it would cost way too much money for, a guy like me who's privately funding the event out of my own pocket. But the way it's looking, everyone really liked the wrestling ring. I might change it to a boxing ring because the wrestling ring was just a little too bouncy for some players. So most likely going to keep the ring, go with the entrances again, and then just pretty much do the Apple thing, add a little bit of an upgrade every year and just try to improve everything I did this year and up the production values and bring in more help just to make sure everything's just an even more streamlined experience for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. I have to admit, that was probably my favorite thing about CEO was the fact that it kind of, and I said this to you yesterday, and I know that the esports word still is a little bit of the big bad wolf in the room, but it felt kind of like a mix between the local fighting game mixed with a giant esports event, and it had its own flair because of the wrestling entrances, the belt for the grand prize. It felt really cool. The theme didn't feel corny. It had this great vibe to the event, so I'm really glad that you're going to be sticking with that. Next week, traveling to Evo. What are your plans there? Playing, just attending to see everybody? What's going on next week for you?
I usually go to Evo. I consider that one of my vacations of the year. I'm actually practicing a lot for Street Fighter 4 AE 2012. My second round match, if I can get past my first opponent, is one of the top players in Japan. So I kind of got unlucky. But I'm really playing it because the Evo might be my last tournament as a competitor. I've kind of lost that spirit to keep on playing. You know, I want to go have fun. I'm going to do the best I can in that game. I entered Mortal Kombat Soul Calibur because the last tournament for those, I ended up going like 3-2 in the games I don't even play. So I kind of like to, I have this stigma. When people play me, they know I don't play a game, but I still have that luck factor. So mostly that, but I go to Evo every year because I learned so much from it. I love seeing all the guys that run Evo, the whole community's out there. So it's a really great experience for me because most of the players that came to CEO will also go to Evo. So it's a great way to kindle with everybody. I also, I do the smart thing. I go out there and network. I'm going to probably meet up some of the new sponsors that Evo has, see if you know, I can work anything with them in the future. So I make the most of it. I go have fun. I play a little bit of poker when I have the time to. So Evo, it's just, for me, I benefit a lot from going to it, not just to have fun, but I meet so many people. It's how I got, you know, my big Mad Cat sponsorship at CEO this year. So I use it to my benefit and make sure that every minute I'm doing something.
Definitely. While I have the chance, real quick, I want to cut in. We're actually giving away Smite beta keys the entire show, and I just want to say that we just selected the first winner because we actually have a click to tweet going. If you haven't seen it, please go on Twitter right now, tweet out. You'll have your chance to win a random Smite beta key, closed beta. And funny enough, the first person we just pulled actually has Evo in his Twitter handle. So congrats to Britzel _Evo. I'm going to DM you one of those codes as soon as the show goes off the air tonight. But congratulations on winning the first key. If you have not, go ahead and tweet out on Twitter right now about the show. It'll enter you in a chance to win. We're going to actually put the link in the chat right now. And tweet that out for your chance to win a Smite beta key. Back to Evo, though, before I get too far off subject. I really like some of the things that they're planning for this year. I saw that they have Dive Kick again, which after playing that at CEO, I fell in love with it. I cannot wait for that game to actually be released. But one of the things I do want to talk to you about is they are offering now an HD PPV option for the Evo stream.
Right.
And I think it's a really great reason that they're doing it, taking all the money that they're earning from the pay-per-view and putting it towards a $10,000 annual college scholarship. What a great idea. And it seems really neat because a lot of the fighting game community seems okay with this. And I've also seen something about the fact that only people that pay will be able to use the chat. Can you enlighten me any more on this? What's going on in that?
You know, honestly, it's news to me. I've actually always told people I would like to see some form of, like, if you pay, you have your own chat room, because sometimes when there's a really big event going on, there's just way too much, clutter in that chat room, and it's so many different things. So I'm excited. Once I read that, I was like, that is the most genius move, because it's a great way to do it. And I actually already subscribed. I already paid that $12. I'll be at Evo, but just the fact that they're mixing it in with a good cause makes it even better. I really don't think anybody's missing anything by, if they don't pay for it. They don't get to chat, but I had this conversation with one of my followers on Twitter. I'm like, you know, a big event like Evo, if you're too busy, or any event, if you're too busy in the chat room, that means the content's not engaging you and you're really bored and you're just trying to get like some kind of like self-attention by throwing in chat words when it's scrolling, you know, so freaking fast that nobody's gonna be able to read it anyways. And you know, the chat's gone after the night's over, you know, and there's no archive of it. You can't reread what you said. So I think it's a brilliant move on Evo's behalf. The $12, honestly, I thought it's not steep or anything. I just thought that was a weird number to throw out. But I fully support it 100%. I think it's a great idea. I wish CEO was at that level where I could do something like that, but you never know in the coming years. But I just think it was a brilliant idea. But yeah, you do have to pay to chat. I did a little bit of research and everything. If you don't pay, you can still see the chat room. You just won't be able to chat. Subscribe and you get, you know, your own little Evo Diamond not banner, but like an icon next to your name and stuff. So it's great. It's for a great cause. Like I've told people, Evo is, so many people are going to be watching it. That chat room is going to be flying so fast, you're not going to want to watch it. It's going to give you a headache. So, and Evo's so exciting to watch that you're just going to sit there and watch it. You're not going to be busy looking in the chat. You're going to watch what's on your screen. So, and if you want to talk to somebody about it, pull up an AIM box or an IRC chat with a few of your buddies. I think that's the way to go. So I love the idea. I think it's great. I would like to see more events do it. I don't think other events have the right yet to charge $12, but I really think this is the way to go in pay-per-views. It just sucks now because if I do it or another event does it, we have to do it towards a good cause too. So they set a really high standard, a high bar to to catch in the FGC world. So, but I'm excited for it. I hope it does well.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to monopolize this conversation, so Kurt, I'm going to let you take over. Please take the mic, ask Jebailey some questions, my friend.
Yeah, man, Jebailey, I've got to tell you, man, I'm glad to have you back on. We gave you a little shit the last time you were on, the fighting game community versus esports debate, but you gave us, I think, just as much. So,
as long as it's creative, and I apologize to Jerry. I think we're friends now.
We were debated multiple times, and
I'm good. I don't. The right answer is I don't have any friends. That's crap. The hell is that crap? But yeah, no, it was good. But yeah, I got it, Kurt.
But I do want to ask, man, because in the whole fighting game community versus esports debate, and I don't want to get onto that, too much during this topic. But one of the things that I think people seem to miss is that even if the fighting game community and esports are sort of two separate things that and people follow that belief and things like that, I think it probably does still affect the sponsors, both positively and negatively. So what I'm wondering is, with how great esports has been doing over the past few years, couple years, I suppose, maybe even you could say a year. Have you personally, or any other tournaments for that matter that you know of, any other tournament organizers, seen a drastic change in the way that sponsors approach your event and you deal with sponsors and how engaging they are, anything like that? I know Madcast is one that you've always had, and that has definitely been a huge supporter of fighting game community. But what else? Is there anything else? Any changes you can see?
I haven't really seen changes too much. I think a lot of events need to do a much better production value to bring in more sponsors. But there has been a lot more talk, and I know, especially with like Evil Geniuses, they had a really great showing at CEO, and I know they were happy and the players were happy. So I've been approached, not by them, but a lot more sponsors after they saw the success of CEO and stuff like that. But like real quick, that like the FGC and the esports thing, that's kind of fallen off because there's just so many events going on. People are focusing on what matters, and it's the gaming, the competition. So that argument, I really feel, has like kind of just died down. It's kind of disappeared for now. Maybe after Evo's over and then, the next MLG's over, then we have a little break of, time to talk more about it and debate into it. But I've been approached a lot more after CEO especially. And, and I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit of a bitter person. My goal with the events is, besides to make everyone smile, is like if somebody rejects me in any way, or like a sponsor like says we're not interested, my goal is not just to put on a great event, but it's to make those people regret not being a part of it. And I've kind of matured. Like I can't do that. I'm the face of a great brand and a community, and it's like I have to put that all the personal stuff aside. Sponsorships can be business at the end of the day, but most of the sponsors I've had with CEO already, like Broken Tier, they're one of the best T-shirt companies. You develop this like emotional connection when they attend your event and they just see what you're trying to build. So that has really helped me. A lot of other events have started being approached. I've seen NOS at more events now, which is a big FGC and esports sponsor. But like the problem with our side on the FGC, we're not a computer-based company, so we can't get like the Steel Series, the Razer, all those kind of sponsors to approach us because we don't use any of their products. So that's why Mad Catz is the big dog in our community, not just because they make the best sticks for our community, but because they care. Like Markman from Mad Catz gives out so much to the community, helps out so many people, and that's why I think they're such a successful company. Especially within the scene, and I know they've branched out to like the MLG Pro Pad, which I have one, which is awesome. So a lot more sponsors are starting to get involved. The streams, the streams are stepping up their production values. So I see a lot more wealth starting to be spread around, but there's still a lot of growing to do for some events to get those sponsors really interested and go, okay, this is something I would love to be a part of, because gamers are taking over. We're buying so much stuff now. And at CEO this past, I had artist alleys and gaming booths, and they were very happy with the turnout. So as long as we have to stick to the gaming centric companies, because if we start bringing in stuff that has nothing to do with StarCraft or a PC game or a fighting game, they're not really going to get much feedback out of it. So we have to kind of stick to what we deal with, because I don't see any big companies, like, I won't bring up the name, but like that whole thing in the FGC never happened, right? Because it was some outside company looking in, but they realized, maybe this is a mistake. So a lot of people are learning from mistakes. Things are getting better. I know, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But
I like how you just didn't say the name, man. You didn't want to get the chat going. Didn't want to get the screen monster.
And it's been quiet, and and I didn't have any of that. And I'm over the top. Like, the wrestling ring was crazy. I had a ring girl. Nobody minded that. So there's ways to do a lot of different things, but you have to stick with those companies that are somehow connected already to our scene, but they're definitely now starting to put more into it.
Yeah. While we've been talking so much about CEO, I actually have, if you guys haven't seen this yet, Boss Fight TV did this amazing recap video of CEO.
Love it.
And I have to give a shout out to the guys. They just are awesome people. We've had Josh Engel here on the show before. Mohawk Mike, great guys. I actually asked them earlier if I could play it tonight so you guys could see it while we were talking. So, Jerry, I know that you're going to take the mic, but while you're doing so, I'm going to actually play this recap video, so if other people haven't seen it, it'll be playing for them on the stream. But Jerry, please, go ahead. Take the mic, my friend.
Yeah, I was going to say that things do seem to have changed a lot since our last conversation, and I want to give you my cut on it, and I want to get your opinion on this. One could say that a rising tide lifts all boats, and if you look at what Major League Gaming's introduction to the fighting game community has done and the attention it has brought to esports, it seems that it's really beneficial in a monetary way now for tournament organizers to be associated with esports, because the massive amount of attention that events like Major League Gaming and the IPL have brought, if you look at all the mainstream press, if you look at everything, a lot of people are sort of cashing in on that. I'm wondering if that's what's going on in the fighting game community. They sort of realized, wow, ever since MLG got associated and someone's looking at video games, we all sort of benefit from this. I'm wondering if that's your take on it as well.
I honestly do agree with you. I mean, like, especially with NOS, because they saw the potential with esports and like MLG at first, then they start to realize, okay, there's more than one gaming event or gaming company, so to speak. So because of that, they're starting to realize there's more events like I mean, really, MLG is pretty big scale when they do their events, but they're starting to see all these other events come up, and they want to be a part of that too, because they have to cater to that community, that gaming community. If they just stick with like one company, like just MLG, they're missing an entire different side. So it did help.
It's also so much cheaper. I mean,
yeah,
you look at that. I mean, that's really, I mean, in the end, like, I mean, to attract a sponsor, especially a new sponsor, for them to invest the kind of amount of money that MLG would want compared to something like you guys at CEO or me at Check 6 or anyone like that would want is just completely different numbers. So, yeah.
And I tell people, I'm like, man, if MLG or some company just gave me $50,000, I could put on the most incredible event ever, without having to please all these huge sponsors that put in millions of dollars, because to me, it always comes to, taking care of the people that are in attendance first, then the sponsors are definitely second, and then the stream. That's just my personal opinion. I want everyone to come have a good experience. And, it doesn't matter how big your event is. If you don't know the right person and you don't network with the right people, you're never going to get in that door to, build something greater. So I've been fortunate to always mingle with people, talk to everybody, learn from so many different people and stuff. So that's what's benefited me personally. But the tide's changing, man. Everyone's starting to grow. And I've always said esports, FGC, it's kind of like there's NBA, there's MLB, baseball, stuff like that. There can be two different entities. They can all do their own thing, and everyone can still succeed. So I don't see any partnerships needed to be formed to get bigger. MLG is doing great. Evo is going to be doing amazing next week, and I'm really excited. So everyone can kind of work together without stepping on each other's toes. But I don't see any need for like a formal partnership just to keep growing. I think everyone can keep growing alongside each other, especially.
I mean, to your point, I think for MLG, it's a big vindication that, look, we can do what we do and it's good for everybody. And, I wouldn't even advise MLG to sign any partnerships with Evo or anyone else. I don't think it's necessary for what they do. But I do find it refreshing to hear from you, and I've noticed in the rest of the fighting game community, sort of change in the tide about, it sort of was like MLG's horrible, their suits, their business, and now it's more like, wait a minute, those horrible business suits, this is really, when it rains on us too. We better take advantage of this, which is good to see, right? It's good to see that, the people who ran esports and do what they do, really, when MLG turns it on, and you look when the heavy hitters like Blizzard and Riot Games now, which I think is #1 in Europe and #1 in North America right now, the #1 game being played. You've got #4 in China. You've got these two heavy hitters and Major League Gaming. Between the three of them, their press release, right, their ability to sort of get out to the press has really brought all this attention on esports, and I think that's really benefited everybody. So it's good to hear that, the fighting game community is clearly benefiting from it, because they seemed so hostile in the beginning about MLG. And, we've talked about it before, all that distrust, and they were taking over in this. So it's good to see a little bit of that lax up. Going back to CEO, though, this was like your best event, wasn't it? I mean, stream number wise and everything else.
I mean, it was technically, I consider it my 3rd year, but really it was my 2nd year as an actual event, because the first year was just a 3-week preparation, put it together for my local community, where I only had like all of Florida and like 2 other states attended with 350 people or so. So last year I consider my legitimate first year. It was great, but it was the first time in Florida has ever had some major event. But I went all out. I talked to the right people last year. I kept promoting like a shameless self-promoter. But it really worked. I ended up with like 26.5 concurrent viewers at the same time. We had a total views just on Team Spooky's channel of 950,000 over the weekend. So I was really proud of that. And I told people, like, the stream, to me, I want to put on a good show for the stream, which I enjoy doing, but it's about who shows up first. And I mean, people know about my ego and how easy it is to stroke my ego and stuff, but I tell people, when you stroke my ego, everybody wins, because then I just want to keep building up to make everyone take notice. And I had 1,600 attendees this year. 950 last year to 1,600, and it's 2nd, 3rd year. I'm still kind of shocked taking it in, but I'm like, wow. And it stinks, because I'm kind of worried about next year, because you have the big Capcom events. You have a really big voice in Seth Killian that was kind of the connector between the fighting game community and like Capcom. So you don't know what's going to happen after the Capcom events. I'm still going to be around. Evo's still going to be around. The grassroots events will always still be there, because we simply enjoy putting them on. But I wonder, am I going to have to worry about how many people are going to show up next year, or is it going to get bigger? Like, I'm projecting in my mind 2,000 people next year, but you never know, because everybody had such a great time. And I listed on my CEOgaming.org site like a tweet testimonial, and every like Japanese player said they want to come back. So it just, as long as I make sure to make the people that attend happy, they just spread the word, because that's how the FGC grows. It's word of mouth. MLG grows through advertising and word of mouth. I have a harder road to build it up, but the scenes become so big because of Evo and Street Fighter 4 that I'm going with it, and I'm just taking advantage of it and meeting as many people as I can and just putting on the best event I can. So to me, I consider CEO 2012 one of my personal greatest accomplishments ever in my life. So I'm really proud of it. I'm happy that everyone had a good time, and that makes me just want to, like, honestly, as soon as it was over, I did an interview with Boss Fight, which are amazing guys. If you can ever get them to your event to do coverage, please do so. But as soon as the event was over and they took me for an interview while we were cleaning up, he's like, what's the farthest, I know it's the farthest thing from your mind, CEO, next year? I'm like, I want it tomorrow, because I want to fix everything I might have done wrong this year and make it even better next year. And I should,
awesome. Oh, no, that's really good. I was going to ask a follow-up question, though. I don't think I've ever technically seen a Major League Gaming ad, so I don't think they actually advertise, like on Facebook or things like that. Then maybe I just haven't caught it.
My town and stuff like that.
Say again?
Yeah.
I've seen billboards. Like, I meant like physical advertising. Like,
gotcha, okay.
MLG Orlando had these huge, amazing billboards. And like, that's cool. And I actually did. I did what I don't think anyone in the FGC has ever done. And I'll be honest, I spent $1,000 on radio advertising. And out of the 1,600, I honestly probably think maybe 50 people that have never heard of it showed up from it. So that's good in my opinion. That, that made back the advertising money. But there's still people that don't know about this stuff. And any kind of advertising, you should never like lay low. Like, even though CEO this year was huge, I'm still not going to quit promoting it and advertising it. And, I thought I tried something new. I want to do the radio advertising because nobody's ever done it before. And it brought in a lot of the casual crowd. I saw moms bringing their kids to check it out. So there's still ways to advertise stuff like that. Sorry, 1 second. But yeah, I'm sorry. So to end that, I've seen advertising on everyone's ends. I still think we need physical advertising out there, not just streaming and websites and stuff like that. So there's still people that don't know about this.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. If we just advertise to the people that already know about it, it kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, especially for huge events that everyone already knows about in our sort of niche community as it is. So, yeah, I sort of have two, I guess, final questions because I think we're going to wrap after this. One would be, do you think, and both of them sort of relate to MLG and what they're doing with fighting games right now. Number one, do you think that MLG putting on these fighting game events, and I think they're doing a great job, as far as getting, registrants for, Mortal Kombat and stuff like that.
Fighters, yeah.
King of Fighters. Do you think that without having Street Fighter 4, that they're going to continue to have a problem with, stream viewers or anything like that? And do you see there ever, and now especially with Seth Killian being, gone, do you think there's ever going to be any sort of resolution to those problems that we're having between Capcom and some of the major, I guess, quote-unquote, esport events?
I've kind of explained it to a few people. Like, I honestly felt bad that, like, Anaheim had only, like, I think 40, 50 entrants for King of Fighters, and I ended up with more. And they're from California. I think one thing as an organizer is their scheduling. Like, they have the game on Friday morning at 10 a.m. People still work, so not everyone can take off. But I've told people not the problem, but why it's hard for MLG is they don't have a community to build off from in the fighting games. They're just like, not a circus, but they have 4 traveling events that go around. They have nothing else, just those 4 main events. And that's why I think the community's still a little bit hesitant. I tell them, go have fun, win some money, use that money to spend it and go to other events you want to go to. So I really can't explain why their turnouts for fighting games were low. I don't think it has anything to do with Capcom games, because I think even if they got Capcom games, they might still not have the huge turnouts that the FGC events have, because we've already been doing this longer and people know the people that are running it personally, and that's why they keep coming back. So I think it would still be a bumpy road. It would probably take 2-3 solid Capcom fighting events at MLG before they really saw the numbers that they're hoping for. I mean, that's my opinion, but I really feel that's how it is.
To throw this out there, though, real quick on that,
yeah.
Just to be clear, I mean, a lot of fighters play multiple games, so if they don't have Capcom events, they lose all the people that are playing those Capcom games and also register for other events.
Right.
So, I mean, I think, if we got all the Capcom people at an MLG event, all their numbers would go because a lot of fighters play multiple titles.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I definitely think I think Jebailey understands completely that you have Street Fighter, of course your registers are going to go up, but it might not be the ridiculous number that something like Evo has, or CEO for that matter, a very large number of registrants for Street Fighter.
In terms of competitors, I had just about the same amount as I did last year at CEO. Marvel had a little bit less. The other games were bigger, like Mortal Kombat, all those had about like 60, 70 entrants more. But I've seen the games, like MLG is awesome because they bring in the spectators. Like the majority of people that go, I think, I'm throwing out a random number, maybe 80% of them are spectators and they don't actually play StarCraft. I could be wrong on that number, but like FGC, year I sold about 700 spectator badges out of that 1,600. So I've seen a bit of a fluctuation because of the streams and stuff. A lot more people just want to go watch and have a good time. So we're kind of taking a page out of MLG's book, and now we're starting to get that spectator crowd for the fighting games to come out. So things have been changing. It's not the turnouts for fighting games are not getting bigger. Even Evo, I mean, their number seems to be a little bit less than last year. So either people are getting tired of the 2 top titles, which are Marvel and AE, and then Cross Tekken was a total unfortunate bomb. So things have changed. Like, we're not getting the bigger numbers with the players. We're getting the bigger numbers because more people are interested in the scene and just want to watch and have a good time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people missed that point that you pointed out earlier. The fact that the community, in the sense of that I don't want to be cliche. I want to take it back months here and say MLG doesn't understand the community. That's not what I'm meaning. But MLG hasn't yet been able to fit everything, their entire event to the community, because they have to build their event on other communities as well. And it's like you said, I mean, you guys can do that. You can build your event completely on that community. You know the fact that a lot of your competitors work as well, stuff like that I think really adds up. My last question, my final question is just, what can MLG do to make their show better? And I want you to give your secret formula away here. I don't want MLG to have a fucking arena, wrestling arena or anything. That's you, man. But what can they do to make their show better and more quote unquote fighting game? Because I agree there. I do see a difference, and I would like to see it more there.
I mean, it's not really a secret. It's just it's easier for me because I can please the players first before the sponsors. So, and by pleasing the players want to spend more, do more of the sponsors. MLG, when I watch it and I see that 5-6 minute break between a match, it kills that whole flow for me. And they can't change that because they're getting all that money from sponsors. So unless they can honestly change that, I don't see a big change in how they run things or more people showing up. I mean, the people that attend, it's on them to go attend it. It has nothing to do with advertising because they're there at the event. I just think it's easier for me because I get to please my players first and my attendees, and then sponsors come second. Because still, like CEO, 90% of it is still funded by my pocket, and that's why I only work with sponsors that actually care about this community. You can ask anybody. I'm a big bullshitter, but I'll never sell anything I don't believe in, and I believe in everything that's a part of CEO. All my sponsors I had this year, I loved all their products and stuff. So for me, it's easier. MLG, it's because they have all these huge dollars coming in. They have to take care of those sponsors first before the players, and that's how I feel is what. It's not that they're doing it wrong. It's just the way it is for them. So unless they can change that formula a bit, and they brought in the right people to help them out with, the commentators for all those games, and most of them came to my event, and they love MLG, and they told me nothing but positive things. It's just a different aura because it's about the sponsors first and then the players.
That's an interesting thing though, because their sponsors are like Dr. Pepper and these big companies, right? And those sponsors don't you think that those sponsors want to have the audience have a really good time, so they associate their brand with something positive? So I see like that all works together. I mean, you serve the sponsors, you serve the players, you serve the audience. I don't think the sponsors' needs are different from the players' needs or the spectators' needs. I mean, they're there investing in MLG to put on a great event. I don't see what it means to say, the sponsors first, because I don't see the sponsors' needs conflicting with the players or the audience's needs. I could imagine a sponsor going, MLG don't do that, even though the players want it. Don't do it because we rather piss them off. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. Explain to me what you mean by that.
Okay, well, first off, there's not two kinds of sponsors, but in physical presence, like I've been to an MLG event, Dr. Pepper and them at the events, they're amazing. They're very interactive with all the people, so people enjoy that. But as a viewer at home, I think that's the problem is you have to kind of take care of the sponsors first. That's why there's commercials on TV channels, stuff like that. So to me, I think that's the problem that, and that aspect, because of the online aspect and streaming, it's about the sponsors because the sponsors are paying that production's values and that money's going into that. Not the
you feel, just to be clear that I understand, you feel that the problem is that MLG has commercials? You think that's what makes?
I think they have too, like they have like too many as a requirement, I think, in between matches and stuff. But I mean, I don't. Okay, so I am a little bit wrong. I don't think that affects players coming out to the events because, like I said, in person, MLG is an amazing event with all the sponsors. But it's just the online production.
I think MLG would agree their downtime is too much, Jerry. I think that's what he means. Is the downtime in between games. You look at a fighting game. You look at a fighting game event, and you could see fuckers jumping up on the stage right after. I mean, really. I mean, it's like you're done next guy. You're done next guy.
I just want to make sure that we're defining this, right? We don't want to walk away with the idea being, right, MLG, like that's like political speech. That's like shit politicians say, right? It's kind of made up stuff like, oh, you're a baby killer. Nobody fucking stop, right? Oh my God. Right? We want to get away from that because that's not the kind of show we run, right? It's kind of like, wait a minute. That should come under the spotlight and really be questioned. Okay, so now we know it's not a problem at live events. It's a problem as far as downtime on the stream. Okay, well, that's a lot smaller of a problem than this sort of broad blanketed structure like, well, they don't serve the players, they serve the sponsors. Because that just didn't make sense to me. I couldn't imagine a sponsor saying...
And I would I would probably disagree with Alex. I don't think it's more of a sponsor thing, them wanting to play commercials. I think it's like them just not having their shit together with the downtime. And I think they would agree with that. I think even they understand that their downtime has been a little much in StarCraft and everything. So, anyway, I appreciate the answer, Alex. Thanks a lot.
No problem. I know it's a little bit more complex, but in my opinion, that's what I think it is. It's easier for me because it's the players first. And you need them all together. Jerry's completely right. You need to please everybody, but it's a lot easier on me and less stressful when I don't have like some $1 million company telling me, hey, if you don't do this, we're going to pull away from you. I don't have to worry about that because the people that already sponsor me, they get in for a great price to them, but it also benefits me to put on the event. So
yeah,
that's why it's easier.
I think Ninja Meh in the chat on Twitch actually had a really good point here. He said having like 5 minutes of downtime is fine between RTS or MOBA games because they're longer. Fighting game matches are just too fast or short for that downtime. And it's a funny story. I've told it here on the show before, but Jebailey, you weren't on, so I'll tell it again. There was a really great moment at MLG Anaheim in between matches of Mortal Kombat where players were actually betting money in the air how long it was going to be between matches, how long until the commentators come back up and keep talking. It was one of those things that you just laughed at when you saw, because it was like, wow, that's a really funny way of them kind of, I guess you could say, boycotting the amount of time between matches, you know. So I agree that it might be something for them to improve on in the future. I know we got to wrap things up with you here because you have a guest waiting for you. I really do want to thank you again, though, for stopping by, taking some time out on the road to EVO now. We're just about a week away, talking a little bit about CEO.
Are any of you going?
Don't rub salt in the wounds, my friend. I was already gonna
No, I would love to if I didn't have to be in LA at a meeting with Riot Games. I absolutely would love to come out to Evo, but sadly,
he's lying. The fighting game community guys would assassinate him, and he knows it, so he doesn't stay as far away.
Oh, with the "Bring It On" by all,
Yeah.
there would be a nuclear explosion. Should one person make one wrong move, that would be a bad day for the fighting game community. There would be fucking people on CNN talking about that motherfucking show.
Hellfire and
What the fuck is going on here? That'd be something like that, you know. So just making it clear that they're the last thing on the planet that intimidates me. A matter of fact, there may be something less, but I can't see it. So just let's not pretend. But all right, we really
Alex, thanks a lot, buddy.
enjoy Evo, have a good time, all that jazz.
Thank you, guys. Take care of yourselves, all right? And hopefully,
not having a phenomenal event.
I appreciate that. Hopefully, you guys can come out next year.
I think so. Thank you, Alex.
All right, thank you, guys. Take care.
Take care, Jebailey.
Bye.
Oh, I love having him on. He is great.
We got debated at the end there too.
Yeah.
So what's next?
Well, I think we're going to take a quick break, about 3-4 minutes. We're going to play some Power Glove music in the background for the people watching on stream. And we're going to bring in our next guest. We've got Tobias Tumba. How did I even mess that up?
I know, it's Tobias and Tumba. But here's the thing. We should also do another Smite giveaway. Maybe one in the stream for those who are watching on the stream or something like that.
Just did one. How about this? We'll give away a third key right as soon as we come back from commercial. And we are back on the losers bracket. Still got my co-hosts, as always, Jerry, Kurt, bringing Tumba in just a second so we can talk about some eSports management group. It's going to be a really fun conversation. I'm looking forward to this. First things first, though, I do want to announce the next winner in our Smite Beta Key giveaway that we've been doing all night. Want to say first congratulations to, I just lost his name. I just pulled it up. I shouldn't even say him, I should say her. A woman by the name of Amy in Stilettos on Twitter. Just tweeted out about it. She is our next winner. I will tweet you the beta key as soon as we are done with the show. Congrats to Amy in Stilettos. We will give out one final beta key at the end of the show. So if you have not yet, please tweet out that we are live. And we are going to be bringing in our next guest right now. His name is Tobias Tumba. Welcome to the show, my friend. I love the way you've got everything set up in the background there. Really nice setup. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm great. I'm fantastic. Good to be on the show. Thank you guys for having me on.
Definitely. So before we get into a little bit about why we brought you on, for those that do not know who you are, if we could we get a little bit of background? Who is Tumba?
Sure. Well, essentially, I'm a guy who always followed his passion kind of thing. I was a professional snowboarder in my youth, so I had left school to do that, and then segued from that into the golf market of all things. Worked in 2 different golf markets up north in Pennsylvania and down south in South Florida, where I currently reside, actually. And then from there went into professional poker and poker events, and did a equity deal for a club here in Miami. Wasn't into that at all. And sort of all along the way, my life was benchmarked from video games. Like I had a Commodore VIC-20 as my first computer, and then the 64C 128. So I remember the whole way through my whole life, like events pattern, bookmarked or watermarked by which computer I had. And I'd be at the club late at night, hated that industry, and I'd be watching GSL. And finally, I just decided I was going to take a couple years off and just get full blown into esports. And so yeah, that's really how I got my start. And then I just started casting regular bottom of the barrel bronze matches for a little community site called ASCW that would do tournaments every day. And from there, got the opportunity to work my way up all the way to doing some MLG stuff, which was a great experience.
That is really cool. Really neat background. Snowboarder. I wouldn't picture that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really
that
cool.
was another lifetime ago, though.
Yeah,
and about
now...
40 pounds left, but.
And now you've done some casting for MLG, and now this huge project that you have co-founded, the eSports Management Group. Can you tell us a little bit about what this new endeavor that you are undertaking is?
Certainly. Okay, first off, I want to start by saying, because a lot of people, didn't see this coming, I had talked about it on my show about a year ago, but that had like 15 viewers. So anyway, but a lot of people didn't see this coming. This isn't like we just decided to do this thing. This has been, a little over a year in the making. We've really been studying the market and looking for the best opportunity to make our entry. And we felt after MLG Columbus, it was time. Basically, what we're trying to do is add another level of professionalism to esports and help esports segue more into the mainstream. We're not interested in really, people are wondering if we're going to tax leagues or try to destroy teams. And it's none of that. That's not what a talent sports agency does. Now, we're not a conventional talent sports agency because this is a niche sport. Of course, esports is a niche in and of itself. So we're looking to add some stability and bring in some fresh opportunities, some fresh money, and really examine ways we can better monetize the industry.
Very interesting. Let me ask this. This is one of the first things that came to my mind when I first heard about this. What makes EMG different than playing for an esports team? What differentiates EMG from something like, say, a vVv or an Evil Geniuses or a Quantic? What would be the reason for someone to be represented by EMG versus, say, being sponsored by a team?
Yeah, good question. Okay, so essentially what a team does is, and it's very important, the day-to-day, making sure that the players are taken care of, they're getting their practice time, hopefully a team house, getting to events, scheduling events, sponsorship commitments that they have endemically in the space currently. So, that's a lot to handle in and of itself, even for a smaller roster, as I'm sure everybody in this call knows. What we focus on, however, is full-time into our clients. So we are not worried about managing you as a person. You manage yourself as a person, or your team manages yourself, or rather your team will manage you. We go out and we hunt opportunity for you. And we present you with these opportunities, and if we feel that there's an equitable business that we can make, maybe we raise capital or use some of our own to go ahead and launch that business and give a particular talent or player ownership in that. Whatever we can do to help diversify and sort of stabilize our clients.
Very interesting. And then there are other people that have been in this space, things like Eon, if you know who they are. What would you say is the difference between, say, EMG and a company such as that?
Yeah. Well, essentially, Eon, I believe their press release came out, I want to say about a month, maybe longer, maybe even longer, or at least the Forbes article I had read. I believe they're mainly focused on Call of Duty for the moment, and I think it's great. I think that anytime, again, professionals are starting to take note of esports, that's a great thing. And that's not a slight to anybody in esports, because I've been on record as saying, look, nobody in this industry is really qualified to do what they do, but it's a fantastic industry nonetheless. Really the people that are qualified to do a lot of these things are out doing it in the real world. Well, now I think we're starting to see this crux, this key point where esports has the viewership, has the legs to go ahead and make the transition more into mainstream. Now, this doesn't happen overnight, obviously. This is a long process, but it's one we're hopeful we can help assist in.
Very interesting. Kurt, I know that you've got a couple hard-hitting questions for Tumba. I'd love for you to go ahead and start asking them, my friend. What's going on in your mind, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing was announced yesterday, Tumba, and it was. I knew a little bit about today. Excuse me. I knew a little bit about it before when I was doing my homework on Clutch when we had him on last week. I saw, and I do watch your show occasionally as well. I wasn't able to catch when you mentioned this, but I did watch your show quite occasionally as well with Travis. So I know Travis as well. But yeah, so I do have a few sort of hard-hitting questions.
Please.
Just in general, because I think a lot of the things that today's announcement there's been a lot of good. A lot of people really coming out with a lot of things, speaking out that this is amazing, and there's a lot of people who either don't understand or they just don't like it. One of the two. So sure. I want to try to help get some of that out there.
Right.
So yeah, I mean the first thing that I have is that you another co-founder. Could you just give us a little bit of backstory about him for people that don't know, for people that don't understand? Maybe talk about Brian, talk about James.
For sure. 1,000%. John as well. Yeah. Okay. So actually, I'm glad you brought this up because it was something that was key to touch on. So, as I said, nobody really in esports, we're doing this out of passion, we're doing this out of love. But I knew if I was going to do this correctly, I needed the right man for the job. And to me, I knew Brian was perfect. Brian's been on my radar since he opened his poker agency in 2003. So I was really just looking for an excuse to work with him. And when I got to Orlando last year, we'd already been in talks about going ahead and starting this agency. And Brian, essentially, what was most attractive about him to me was the fact that he was able to make the transition from a golf agent into poker, not knowing really anything about the game of poker, but he knew how to monetize that space. So, or he had an idea, he thought he knew, and it turned out to be great. It worked out very well for him. And so it proved to me that he's able to go into an area he may not be familiar with, learn it quickly, and be able to adapt. And also poker, much like StarCraft or esports, is the niche. It wasn't exactly fully mainstream at the time. It was in that sort of awkward phase. They were starting to show hole cards on TV, things like that, a lot of the experiments early on. So I think we're sort of in a mirror situation with some differences, obviously. But the space really looks a lot like poker did in 2003. Of course, James as well is the president of Poker Royalty, also part of eSports Management Group, and he's a lawyer, very accomplished lawyer, taught law as well. So he handles 90% of the legal. And then John Arminio, he did some deals with MMA and is very familiar with that space. And I want to touch on that for a second because, MMA is very proprietary. So that's something that I think sort of concerns everybody is what if these leagues start locking down sponsors? What if they start saying, teams can only present this at this certain time or not at all, limiting the size of patches? And this is all stuff that Brian has dealt with in the past. So really in terms of protection and growth, that we have experience in that regard, or I should say Brian does in that regard as well. John Arminio, who I was just talking about, was also involved in a lot of the MMA deals and a lot of the fighting deals, which I think you could consider another, it's a sport, of course, it's a traditional sport, fighting, but it's also a bit of a niche.
Gotcha. And I want to touch a little bit, because you touched on my question a little bit, but I do want to make sure that I understand a little bit better. Brian, who's, what makes someone like Brian, I guess, the other co-founders would be a potential as well, but what makes someone like Brian qualified for this particular space. He has a ton of experience in poker, a ton of experience in golf, but you know just as well as I do that we're not pitching golf and poker, we're pitching esports, and it's so different in many different ways.
Exactly, which is essentially why I'm there. But I speak nerd, so when I go to a software company, for example, my job is to articulate what we have going on, and the response has been phenomenal thus far. I walked out of a meeting and I thought, man, that couldn't have gone worse. And 30 minutes later, we get a phone call. So things have been great on that front. So I'm helping with that. But I have to say, Brian stands on his own in that regard, too. He had great mentoring coming up when he was in golf as a golf agent. And, making that transition into poker, he didn't know poker either. But he was able to go ahead and sign guys like, Daniel Negreanu, Phil Hellmuth. And for those of you that don't know, these are just, the biggest names in poker. Doyle Brunson, living legend. So, he was able to go ahead and he's seen this movie before, if you will. So, granted, it's a different film, but it sort of has the same plot to it, if I can make that analogy.
Yeah, no, I understand it. And another thing about the whole thing that I'm just a lot of people have been really curious about is what is someone like Brian, or even someone like yourself who's been in, this is the problem. This is the differentiating between someone like you and someone like Brian. We don't know Brian, and by we, I mean we as the community. Sure. And we have this thing in the community, and once again, I hate to speak for the entire community, but it's almost like, because the fact that no one is fucking making money off of this, almost no one. Let me rephrase
right.
that.
Yeah.
Almost no one is making any money off this. Everyone is in it for the passion, and everyone's in it because of the fact that they love what they do. And dear God, if I was here for money, I would just be an idiot. So I mean, what does someone like Brian stand to get, though, who might not be as passionate, at least as far as we know, about this particular scene? What does he stand to gain when the fact that the money isn't necessarily there yet?
Right. Well, it's early. It's early to enter the space. We know it's early. We're willing to take that hit. The risk side, of course, financially. And, one thing about Brian is, he is excited about this. He is passionate about this because, he's got that flame that he had in 2003 looking at the poker space going, I think I can do a lot of good here. I think we can really get in here and start to, monetize this properly. So that in and of itself has motivated him, along the fact that the guy just, loves games. So, I mean, he sat there, I have lore conversations with him on SE2, and, he might not tell you how the game can work mechanically yet, but he will be able to go ahead and pitch to a major brand in his Rolodex and make them understand that there's value here for them. And that's what's important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've talked about that before on the show, how we really need someone that is able to pitch without the passion. If you understand what I mean by that, pitch without being tied to esports passion. Do you understand what I mean by that? It's very very hard to explain, but we do need people like that. It's kind of a necessary thing to have. My last question for now, then I'm gonna pass to Jerry. I've got a few more, of course, but my last question for now is, let's get into some specifics. Like, what specifically are you guys going to be doing for, whether it be players, whether it be teams? One thing that I do find unique about you guys is that you're not Eon, for instance, Eon, CSN, and all the other ones that are doing dabbling in this thing that you guys are doing. Don't sign teams, or haven't signed with teams so far. You guys right out of the bat have announced something with CLG, which could not have been easy to get. Couldn't have been easy to convince.
Well, the CLG deal was actually quite smoother than even I anticipated. But what it comes down to is essentially vision. And we have a shared vision with them, and it was amazing how well everything lined up. Because what we want to do is we want to understand our clients as an individual entity, whether that be a team or a person. We want to get what makes them tick, what they're passionate about, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what they like to do. We want to forge that personal relationship. Based on that, we can better serve their needs and the companies that want to come into the space. Don't forget, the companies that want to come in are looking for a good match, right? So if they have a great experience on both sides of this deal, then, obviously everyone profits. So that's the reason we want to work with teams. We don't want to come in and disrupt any of the current economic infrastructure or ecosystem that is currently here. We want to support it. And, of course, League, though, is a bit different than StarCraft. I think that, if you have a StarCraft-only team, we've seen a lot of those in rough spots. It's a very difficult model to figure out. I think a lot of the teams are like, okay, well, we're sort of like, we're niche agencies, but we're managing hands-on, and more teams are starting to figure out exactly where they are. Again, the team model, independent of us, has got to find legs. However, we're open to working with anybody. We don't want to limit anybody's opportunity. That's my big line coming out of this whole thing is, look, we're not looking to limit anybody's opportunity. CLG really understood that, and they were a brand, a team, pretty much an organization that we felt in the League of Legends space could really show and prove on the main stage. And I'm not talking about winning championships here. I'm talking about more like, work ethic and being able to become brandable to mainstream audience. Some of the other people in LoL, to be frank, just they're not there yet. They're not ready.
It all goes back to getting those dollars to pull from. I forgot the hell who said that, but it's all about getting that money.
Well, I have to say, we talk about the money a lot, but to be honest, one of the things that I got into this for was always for the player. Now I can be for the player, but still help the teams, because obviously the teams are a key component to a lot of these young men that are having, that they're just getting into this world. And Jerry's touched on this a lot. And they're forgoing college. They're taking a big risk. These are years out of their life that they're critical. And we offer that extra layer of protection. Having 2 lawyers on staff is very helpful. And, we're able to go ahead and give our best advice. At the end of the day, though, we work for the client, though. They're the boss. So they make their own decision.
Yeah. So what? Just as a last question here. So just if you could, you have teams. You have the casters, the personalities. You have Hotshot GG, who's kind of both. What is the difference in which specifics you are wanting to provide for them? And by that I mean, once again, some of the things you might provide for a player, a team doesn't necessarily need. I'm sure you understand. Whether it be scheduling for things, a team should be able and has been able to do that on their own. So what's the difference in the specifics in which you guys would provide for them?
Surprisingly, to answer your question, there's not much difference. Again, it's about learning these entities as individuals, or individuals as individuals, if you will. In other words, getting to know what makes them tick. And again, our blueprint is simple. We're not looking to manage them in terms of getting them to events, making sure they show up, any of that stuff. We are here to dedicate all of our resources, once again, to providing fresh opportunity and building new businesses.
Gotcha. Jerry, over to you, buddy. I know you've got a few questions.
Well, I want to get into the details of how. So, I think all the skepticism and everything aside, I think somebody said, Lord, Jareth, you can ask tough questions. I don't think there are tough questions. You'll either do this or you won't. It's kind of the bottom line. But I think what is important, what we can talk about, is to get a feel of the process. If somebody is interested in being a part of this, or they're thinking about this, if I were a player, and I will in this moment assume that I am, I would come to you and I would say, walk me through the process. What will be expected of me? What am I signing away to you? What am I giving you? What are you going to be managing? And when can I? What can I expect? What's the time frame in which a partnership of some kind that'll help me diversify comes up? How would that work in a typical engagement?
All great questions. I'm going to try to hit them all. So let's start with time frame. Let's start there, and then we'll work our way back to expectations. So. And plan, blueprint. So with time frame, it's going to take a while. This is a slow process. This isn't something we can promise you. We're going to go out. We don't want to promise these huge brands and then not deliver. There's too much of that in esports already. And that's why there is the skepticism. And I understand that. I was a part of that. Don't forget, I came from bottom up. I've seen it all. So, and I'm not saying I've seen it all in terms of like the guys that have been in the space 12 years. because, you know, hat in hand, all the respect to them. What I'm saying is I've experienced it firsthand myself. So it is not an overnight process. It does take time, and we build that relationship slowly. In terms of expectations, I think that's another thing that we're going to be good at here is managing expectations, because certain people they think of esports as being way further ahead than it is. You know, you hear numbers like $70 million in venture capital and gajillion viewers. You know what I mean? And these numbers, you know, that money gets spent so fast because it has to be, that, you know, it's sort of they don't have an accurate representation of the business end of it. So we sort of have to tame expectations in certain regards. None of the current clients we have, though, I can honestly say have any of those expectations. They've been great in the process. So if you were saying, how do you want to get into this, or you'd like to be represented, essentially right now we decided to go a little shallower with who we were going to take, because we do want to go ahead and provide good experiences for them and for the sponsors that we're bringing in. So we were very selective in who we were talking.
That's really funny that you said that, because we got like Newbie McNoob in chat right now. That's a funny, great name for this.
He's my buddy. He's trolling.
I was gonna say, he says he wants to be esports famous.
Well, I've got 1,000. You know? Yeah, you know, you're right, Paradise. Yeah, you're making a good point. I had 1,000 emails today from players that, you know, I'm not on the team. I'm still in high school, but I want to do this.
Welcome to the world, buddy. Welcome.
Right? Yeah, and, we got that at StimTV.
Wait till they start spelling sponsor and application wrong. Okay.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, hey, look. You know, it's one of those things that I've got crazier emails, but I feel you. But okay, so essentially, getting to that to the expectation, how do you get involved, kind of thing. Essentially, the best way is just, we want to work with people that are hard workers, and that's what it comes down to. If you look at the guys that got paid in poker, they were the guys that were willing to put out the content, willing to go ahead and do the work, and willing to do the speaking engagements. And, you know, all that stuff sort of builds into your portfolio and makes you more and more attractive. Now, in the poker space, everybody wants, you know, a Daniel Negreanu, but sometimes they end up with a different player because that, you know, Negreanu already has an engagement, which is great about the model. So it's a big ocean out there, and as long as you put forth the work and the effort, kind of thing, and we recognize that, and then it's the next process is, it's a feeling out process, Jerry. So we'll sit with the client, and or we'd sit with you as the player, as you were saying, and we'll say, okay, here's what makes you tick. Here's kind of what makes us tick. And in terms of what you're getting into, you know, we work for you. So again, you're the boss. Any contracts we have are more particular to deals that we would sign, and making sure that that's not broken. In other words, say we got a deal to the 2-yard line, and then all of a sudden you decide to fire us and take the deal yourself. In the unlikely event that would happen. So that's where the contract more or less comes into play. But at the end of the day, you're the boss. You make all the calls.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, well, let me recap that first to those who are following. If we were a good fit for this early stage for EMG, where you felt the talent had sort of high potential for you to build relationships in the esports area with some of your contacts, that's where you're starting. And from there, the goal is to sort of create opportunities for these players. But, you know, all the skepticism you're going to get right now, I think, is going to be from people saying, what makes you qualify to do this?
Sure.
And I think your position is, you know, sort of wait and see. We're going to go out and we believe we can do this. We're investing our time and money to do this, you know, sort of sit tight. This is what's going to happen. Is that accurate?
That's exactly right. As a matter of fact, I got to be honest, I'm hoping that I get somebody that says you can't do this, like it'll never work, because that's what I'm really looking for. Because that, when somebody tells me that, that's when just overdrive afterburners goes in. Because, you know, every time in my life that's been said, especially in a business sense, I've gone ahead and gone much further than I ever anticipated. I've heard you'll never cast for MLG. So, but, you know, you bring up good points. You know, am I myself qualified to do this? No, that's why I went out. And that's why we took a long time building this and looking at the scene in the industry, and that's why I partnered, of course, with Brian. So you know, I bring that firepower with me.
Okay, so Tumba, to wrap up, I do have a few more sort of hard hitting questions, and one of the things is, people, what do you say to the people who today, for instance, have been saying these guys are just people trying to make money off of other success? Because that's a big thing going around, man. People are people are bitter. So let's hear. What do you have to say to them?
Yeah, but that's great. You know what? I would love to show them what we've spent so far. So, I mean, we are not making any money. We have a long horizon on this. That's another thing. We're in this for the long haul. And if they only knew what it cost, nobody ever appreciates the cost of anything, really, unless they're in that business. So, good question. Okay, looking to make money off other people's success? No. First of all, we are not looking. We feel like, especially for the clients we have, barring Clutch, a lot of them have reached their peak and ceiling in payment for where we're at in the space. So again, we're not looking at taxing leagues, endemic sponsors. That money spent, those relationships are made. If anything, hey, we're looking to enhance them, maybe make new partnership deals and enhance the whole scene. To be honest with you, if I make a deal for somebody endemically, 99% of the time there's not even going to be a commission. Just because it's not worth really. When you look at where we're at in the money in the system now as it is, yeah, it would never work that way. There's no money to be made there. The only way this works is if we go ahead and bring in fresh opportunity. Again, not going to happen overnight. But so to those people saying we're just trying to make money, no, these people are outsourcing their potential to us and trusting us to go ahead and find these brands. And you know what? You don't have to speak any further than Brian's roster. Look at his rate. He had 40 players signed in 10 years. 2 have left. So that's a great record. That's a great track record. That's as I said in the one post, I said that's a good torch to light the future with, based on the past right there. I mean, that's it sort of speaks for itself. So no, we're not in this to make a quick buck. We stick to our guns and what we said. We're in here to go ahead and if we were, it would just fail. I mean, there's Brian's a smart guy. I consider myself fairly intelligent. If you listen to me cast, you may think otherwise. But anyway, I would never get into this space if it was just to make some quick dough and split. That's absolutely ridiculous. I've dedicated 2 years of my life to this. I'm not in this to make some quick money or try to get rich off Tasteless, who is a brilliant talent. We just want to go ahead and bring him more opportunity, bring Clutch more opportunity, hopefully get him into this full-time. It's his passion. He's good at it. And, the rest of the, DMAC, Gandhi, Golden Boy, those guys too, just helping these people reach their potential kind of across the whole spectrum of esports.
Gotcha. Another question I have is that, you guys do have some of these personalities and like Tasteless and the awesome Clutch that we had on last week. And let me ask you a question. Since one of your, I guess, one of you guys' responsibilities will be trying to find a person their own brand and grow that brand and trying to find the right partners for that brand. And do you think that a player like Destiny, his brand has been sterilized? Do you think that he is simply too hot to touch? And then in that aspect, do you think that making his brand is not possible? Yeah, I know, buddy.
This is a great. This is a question that if I was doing your job, I would want to ask me. I love this question. That's a good one.
Hopefully Reddit doesn't get wind of it, but
no, yeah, right. Well, hey, whatever. It is what it is. I got.
If my feelings get hurt on Reddit again, I'm coming to all of you and saying they didn't write something very nice about me.
Exactly.
Just to point out, actually, I want to let y'all know, Jerry actually has a troll on Reddit that has made an account called Shut Up Fat Man, that all he ever does is go on and negrate losers bracket posts and post bad things about Jerry.
Hold on, wait a minute, hold on. So Jerry's the fat guy of this show? Wait, I thought that was my job.
Here's the funny part, right? I think it comes down to the same thing all the time, right? Being ignored, that's when you know you have nothing. Being hated is such a great thing, because it's always like I always like the idea of sort of like comparison, right? So it's somewhat in some measures of the world we have kind of these benchmarks, right? So let's say we were to look at life as sort of data driven, and those data driven points are, one set of data would be, well, how happy and engaged are you in your life? That's one set of data, right? And then a byproduct of that would be how well you educated are you, how much money you make, right? And I want to make a note that I start out with how happy and engaged you are, right? And then I went to education, then I went to money and, sort of job satisfaction, which I'm sure ties into that, right? Those are kind of the ways we measure life. I think that's pretty standard, right? So when I look at my own personal measures, which I do quite often, they're really high. I'm happy across the board in a lot of ways. For me to actually go and get mad at someone, I don't know where I'd find the time in that, and that's where it starts to get interesting to me, right? Like I get fascinated by the idea of, how does somebody go from, like, the people who, like, in this blog had written me, you make sure you ask them tough questions. There isn't any tough questions to ask you right now, right? It looks pretty clean. You're gonna, you have people who are willing to engage in a business venture with you. You guys are gonna try to see if you can leverage their personalities to get them sponsors. If somebody feels threatened by that or they want to pew it, I mean, to be fair, you're no more legitimate than I could think of about a dozen gaming organizations out there right now that are trying to do something similar, which is act as an agency or act in the capacity of doing that. So why would you get a better pass than, XYZ Gaming, so to speak? So I think for those of you who wanted me to, like, ask tough questions, I don't have grounds. I don't see a problem here. I think, to be fair, Tobias is being pretty straightforward. They've got previous contacts in different arenas they like to bring into the space. They need to show those contacts personalities to give them an idea of who can be there. Those personalities sign on board, and they all kind of go on this business venture together. It's actually no different.
Stop.
What?
He still wants the
What
answer
I
to his
missed?
Destiny question. That's what he wants.
I do, man.
no,
The VOD's gonna be like, what question did he ask?
I'm gonna get to the Destiny, but like Jerry's right, like sort of my amazement, and it's my own fault because I should have known this, and it's a growing process. You know what? Esports is still a baby. It's heading toward teenagers, so it's a growing process, and not everybody understands how agencies work or sports agencies. They want to, people are like, oh, it's the end of teams. You're trying to end teams, and there's all these preconceived notions, but which is funny because preconceived notions are something we fight as an esports organization all the time. Yet we have some of the most preconceived notions of anybody else, which is it's great to be skeptical. That's wonderful. But I think people that are acclimated to business get it and understand it, whereas maybe the fans don't. They think that maybe we're trying to sign them some contract because they're beholden to us. Where in the end of the day, we're just bringing more money in, and that's the goal, and offering protection so you don't see contract fiascos. And also, you know what, when a guy like Clutch or Gandhi or Tasteless or whomever wants to go ahead and negotiate something, we can be the bad guy, and then they can go to the event or go to whatever they're doing and do it to their full potential without feeling awkward. I've had those talks with MLG where I'm like, well, this event's coming up. Am I going? Am I not going? What's the deal? Do you need airfare? What's the deal here? And you feel kind of awkward and it's not comfortable, and then you don't want that. So, that's another thing that I think we pick up and do for our clients. And it's also easier for the leagues, right? It's easier for the leagues because now they don't have to feel awkward dealing with somebody, and we can have that dialogue, establish that modality that allows us to sort of get work done. To Destiny, do you want me to do that now, or do you want to add to that Destiny question?
Well, I'm going to throw this out there because I was going to lead up to this, and
okay, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No. I mean, they were right. I mean, I probably took it off on a tangent coming back to Destiny. I'm not going to steal your thunder. I guess I might have headed that way. It seems to me that I'm going to go ahead and let you answer the Destiny question first and then kind of hop in with my own 2 reasons leaning in that I don't suspect he's too hot is going to be my guess. But go ahead.
Well, okay. It's fine to steal my thunder. Feel free anytime. So you always sort of have the bad boy in any space kind of thing, right? Or even in any team. And there is a market for that. There is a niche for that. There is people that will say, look, he's got the viewers at the end of the day in this age range that we like. So that Destiny would actually be more of a thing, or a person like Destiny would be more of a thing where if there was a potential roadblock there, it would probably be in the office, getting to sit down and meet them and understand their philosophy. If he doesn't like what we're saying and we don't like what he's saying, my experience in life is, if it's going to be hard in, it's going to be hard the way out. So, let's just skip all that BS and end with a handshake now, and maybe at a different time we can do this. But, I think, anybody that gets views, you don't even necessarily need to win tournaments. If you're entertaining and you sustain views, there's people that are willing to take risks on your name and your logo. Now, I of course, it's not as easy. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Destiny sort of carved out this little area for himself in the esports area. But Jerry, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I'm going to I don't think he's too hot. I think at the end of the day, he has a loyal following. You could, if you thought, I'm trying to think of an example, but maybe some people felt like Howard Stern was a male chauvinist, but Howard Stern has a lot of followers.
But here's the thing, though, Jerry. He has a loyal following, but that anti-loyal following is also a problem too. We see that in the fact that Gigabyte announced him as a caster. Gigabyte got a few emails, and they're like, cut him. Same way with Quantic and Razor. Razor got a few emails, and they parted ways. So I think the fact maybe he's not too hot, but
here's
it's definitely a risk.
Look at the two sponsors in question, Gigabyte and Razer. That's about as straight corporate in this space as they come. There's nothing there that's necessarily edgy, right? Razer isn't edgy. They have glow-in-the-dark products. They're not edgy, right? Their edginess is like pretty lights. You look at the other sponsor, right? You're talking about Gigabyte. They make motherboards. There's nothing sexy about motherboards or edgy, right? So yes, those are the wrong fit for Destiny, but there could be other things, right? Like a certain kind of energy drink, a certain kind of edgy product that would be perfect for him, right? Maybe it's condoms, maybe it's friggin'. There's all kinds of products in the world that are not as squeamish.
Brazzers, Jerry. We got to get Brazzers.
Listen, my point being, right? Here's the thing. If you think about it, the one thing that esports has needed for a long time is a lot more people to get people to think about the business, right? And I don't care what the business is, whether it's the business of running events, whether it's the business of representing players. There is a market here, and people are coming to take a look at that market. And players are a very obviously key component to that market, protecting players' rights, making sure the league is successful. All these things are going to come up as eventual conflicts. We're going to need organizations that know how to develop players and train them for this. We're going to need all kinds of things in the esports space, right? And right now, it's not organized. Nobody has had the wherewithal to sit. And the more money that comes in, someone's going to sit down and say, look, we need to organize this a little bit better, right? We need to get a set of best practices, a set of standards. This is what we want the talent agencies to do. This is what we want the teams to do. This is what the league's responsibility is going to be. We'll eventually get to that point. And at the end of the day, to be fair, I'm going to talk to anybody out there who's a baseball, a football, a basketball, a soccer fan. I just want to make sure I've reached you for a moment. I want you to sort of think, yeah, I'm one of those, a hockey fan. I want you to think right now that you're one of those. And I want you to understand that nobody fucking in those industries turns to you for business advice. NFL doesn't ask their fucking fan base for their 2 cents, right? They give you your forum, or ESPN gives you a forum, and you fucking bitch and tell the world how fucking smart you are if you ran fucking football or the fucking collegiate bowl or whatever it is, and people dutifully ignore you or they rage with you because they're bored at work. That's how the real world works. So eventually, right, we're not going to be turning to fucking the rage on fucking Team Liquid because so-and-so got upset. There's going to be much bigger fish to fry, much more important work to be done. There's going to be real conflicts about revenue share. There's going to be real conflicts about the kind of events we want to have. There'll be all those real world problems, and they won't involve, like, you know, what we're seeing right now. So I see, like, the path ahead to be something filled with a lot more serious questions than the knee-jerk reaction stuff we have to deal with now. Proof in point, right? Look at our last guest. Look at Evo. All of a sudden, you know, the story was MLG is business. They do pay-per-view. They're horrible human beings. They're business. And all of a sudden it rains a little bit and they get some of that water and they're like, motherfucker, they're still bad, but yeah, I'm good. And we're going to do pay-per-view, by the way. Oh, are you now, Mr. Businessman? Isn't that funny? Right? So to me, right, it's, you can play that political game for as long as you need to, but eventually someone's going to say, we want to be an industry, and then we kind of have to sort of, you know, divide it up, establish best practices, do the things we need to do to avoid lawsuits, make everybody happy, create a win-win, and do the things we do in the real world. And that's where I see it headed. So organizations like Eon and organizations like EMG were an inevitability at some point. And if you look at it, I don't want to, Tobias, put, you know, words in your mouth. I just want to make it clear this is my opinion.
Sure.
But there are two paths to go down. One, they could become a very important part of esports, and a large talent agency, United, I could go on, United Arts, all the big major talent agencies, the big four as they're called, they may buy out EMG, or they may buy out Eon, because it's worth it for them to now include esports in their big portfolio, and this is what success will look like, right? I'm not saying that Tobias is setting up for a sale or anything like that. I'm just saying those are the way the real world works. Right, those are options that could come down the road in a futuristic fantasy of great amount of money and a great lot of opportunity. Let me reiterate, that's a long way
that
off.
Out so quick. Say that again. Futuristic, great amount of money. I love that. I love that quote.
That's kind of code for you're not even close, so careful. But you know, we're more like $70 million in debt. That's the esports net total worth.
Yeah.
And we may break even for not increasing the debt. Now we've got to get to actually erasing that debt. So there's still a lot of work to do.
Our director, a.k.a. Jason, a.k.a. Redhead, is giving me like the cut sign. But look, I have at least one more question I have to ask, whether anyone likes it or not.
All right.
Yeah. So I think we thoroughly answered the Destiny question, though. I would probably disagree. I mean, I think in the end, like, you know, Destiny being too hot, I guess it all depends on.
Can I?
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
Real quick, before you get to it, and I'm going to be quick because I don't want to piss your director off. This is a critical time right now in esports where you can't have players. I mean, you know, Jerry said it, knee jerk. I mean, we saw the situation with Orb where you're calling sponsors, the tweets are going out, people are on Reddit, and calling, emailing, tweeting at Monster and all these different people. Which that was, you know, whatever. I don't think that was called for at all. I think that's juvenile, to be honest. And it was a mob mentality. So, you know, you have to be careful. It's always best, I think, to err to the safe side if you're on the talent end, or, you know, because it is definitely at this point in time hard to showcase a player like that, because you don't want to get a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi looking at the space and going, well, is that what they're all like? You know, you don't want to judge one by the standout or sort of bad guy. But so that's all I want to say on that.
Yeah, I agree completely. And as far as the people emailing Monster and stuff like that, the thing is I've never really shared my views too much on that. And the thing is I would say it would suck if it happened to me. I would hate it. I would hate if if all of a sudden I had 300 people emailing TT eSports because Max was Black said something crazy on stream. You know, but I guess they're used to that. So, but that being said, it did do the job. You know, it did sort of say, hey, maybe we need to reanalyze this. So I hope now that has happened, people will start to contact teams more, and teams will take it a little more seriously.
Exactly. Give the team time to respond. Like, that was the thing.
The thing is, before the teams never did anything. I mean, really, if a player came, if a casual person from the community said, "Hey, this guy offended me," I would, you know, me personally, I would talk to the player and go this, and this, but it wouldn't necessarily mean get out. You know, nothing ever gets done when you do that historically. So I'm hoping now that that's happened, and EG sort of quote unquote paved the way with there, as well as people like Quantic and stuff like that, from having people contact their sponsors. People start to realize more that, hey, maybe we should listen to the community from now on.
Go to the teams. I mean, they did a great job with that. They responded as quickly as they could with doing diligence to the problem. And, I talked to Orb day after, and, he felt terrible, and that situation's done with. But, it's better if they go to the team. Give the team a chance to respond.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, you had one more question. I do apologize.
I have the last question, and my question is, a lot of people don't realize a lot of people do realize, but there's a huge gap in between some of the smaller teams, whether it be Check 6, whether it be, I still consider Quantic one of the smaller teams, although, of course, they're a little bigger than us, Infinity 7, and any number of some of the what I would consider smaller teams. And by how I define smaller teams, I define smaller teams as sponsors, nothing more. And by sponsors, I mean sponsors they're getting money from. It's not sponsors they're getting gear from. Sponsors they're getting money from. So there's a lot of these smaller teams, and one of the reasons I feel like some of the smaller teams have such a hard time getting up to an EG, getting up to a Dignitas or a Fnatic or anything like that, is because of the fact that they don't have some of the people that EG has, or some of the people that Fnatic has, and stuff like that. EG has amazing management. Brandon Freytag over there does marketing. Colin does marketing, all of which are contracted with EG. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They are EG, and MLG's people are MLG, and Fnatic's people are Fnatic's people. And EG does that with virtually everyone they have, as well as all other teams. It's not EG's fault. I would do the same thing. But what I'm wondering is do you guys think that you guys will maybe be able to change that dynamic a little bit?
Well, here's the problem. Let me explain the problem with that dynamic. We're hoping, again, I'm going to answer this sort of backwards. We're hoping that starting top down with the great talent that we've gone ahead and been able to get, that we get Tasteless, we get Clutch, all our clients enough deals that where it's like, okay, now we need to start, okay, well, you can't have him, but we have this great fit for you here. Yeah, they're young, but they're on the rise kind of thing. But that's after we establish, right? We can't jump to that yet. Now, the problem you're talking about goes back to two things. It's sponsors and time. They're new to the space. It's a new team. It's very difficult, whatever would have you a smaller team, because bottom line is these endemic relationships have been forged over years. And you can't just go and start a team and say, well, I'm going to get these sponsors, because that money's spent. All that money is spent. Why would they want to go ahead and look at a new team? What could you possibly give them that one of the major teams can't do better? So, and I think it was Mark Cuban that said, when you're going to enter a space in business, make sure the big guys can't crush you, because that's one thing that will stop your business dead in its tracks. And I think that resonates really with, or it should, with these younger teams. They need to know that going in, because I would imagine very, very difficult to get the attention rather of the endemic. So short answer, yes, we hope to help those teams if we have enough success at the higher level to where it could trickle down.
Gotcha. All right, I think that's it.
Oh, by the way, we have zero intention of, and you can put this on the record, of selling the company, and something similar had happened.
Okay. I thought you were going to say zero intention of signing Destiny.
No. That would be a long conversation, I'm sure. But no. We had zero intention. That would have been a good soundbite for the show, for sure. But no, I mean, no. We don't. We're not in this. We're in this for the relationships to build a
editing works wonders.
Now we can't post this on Team Liquid.
Sorry.
Oh, Tumba, I am so glad you made time to come on the show tonight and talk to us about this. I'm excited to see what you do, my friend. I will not say you cannot do it, although I will if you want me to say it to you, I might not mean it, but at least if it'll light a fire under you, because I really want to see what you're capable of, my friend. You really have a really cool idea going here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with it.
That is the most polite "you can't do this" I've ever gotten, so.
See? That's it, man. That's what I'm talking about. Before you head out, any shout-outs that you had?
Of course, all the clients. Again, Gandhi, DMAC, Golden Boy, Clutch, Tasteless, of course. You guys for having me on the show, Simpatico, all my friends at Stim TV. And, man, just thanks, guys, for giving me the platform to get out there and sort of ask the hard questions. I appreciate them. I told you I'd be candid and honest. I hope I answered them as fully as you wanted. And, I'd love to be on the show anytime you guys would have me. You have a great thing going here.
Thank you so much.
Tumba, are we gonna, as a last thing here, are we gonna see you more in other things now? Or are you gonna be strictly dedicated to this? Are we still gonna see the podcast? Are we gonna see?
I'm done. Yeah, no, this is full time. I'm commuting between Miami and Las Vegas, which is just that's a bear. But I'll be at all the events, so I will be at all the events, and making my presence known on the eSports scene, keeping tabs on what's going on and shaking hands. And you know what? We'll have to get together for some cocktails at one of these events, fellas.
Oh,
I like
yes.
that idea. I like that. Tumba, I think we should have you back on as soon as we get a couple more months into this, see how things are going, kind of catch up. In the meantime, best of luck to you. We look forward to seeing what you can do with this, my friend.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. Take care, buddy.
Good night.
All right. What a great interview to end the show. That is pretty exciting. Like I said, I look forward to seeing what they can do. In the meantime, I feel like we should give away our last Smite key and then wrap things up. I want to congratulate Cruxial1 on Twitter for winning the last of the Smite beta keys that we were giving away tonight. Thank you so much for tweeting out about the show. I will tweet you your key via DM right after we are done. In the meantime, thank you to our sponsors, as always, Control Freak, Steel Series, Gamer Grub, the band Power Glove for supplying the music that you hear each and every week here on the show. If you have any feedback for us, right at the bottom of our frames is our Twitter handles. Feel free to tweet any thoughts, comments, suggestions that you have. If you want to email me directly any thoughts that you might have, it's paradise@vvv-gaming.com to reach me. Or you can message me on Skype, vvvparadise. Kurt, any shout-outs before we end the show, my friend?
Yeah, I really appreciate Tumba coming on. I know today had to be a little bit of a roller coaster ride for him. I know he was very busy trolling those Reddit threads and making sure to answer everything, because that's really what he's good at. So explaining that stuff. So I think it was a really good interview. I'm hoping maybe in a month, 2 months, 6 months, we could have him back on when they sign their first major brand, maybe. Mm-hmm. Hopefully so. And yeah, shout out to Jerry. Jerry, you gave me a Smite beta key. I was giving him hell because I came on. He was giving them away. You guys were giving them away on the show, and I didn't have one. So I love you, Jerry. Thank you so much. I'm gonna go download that right after the show. Just so everyone knows, check us out on Facebook if you can. Check 6 Gaming, facebook.com/check6gaming. We were able to, we're 1-2 currently with the ECA match, and we have our final match play tomorrow, which will be Sleep, our ace player. So that should be fun.
Cool.
That's it, guys. Thanks.
Jerry, shout-outs for the week?
Really big shout-out to our management staff, who has done a great job. We are going to probably promote a few people who've been doing an excellent job, Rob Zigod being one of them. You'll hear about that. Looking forward to EVO, so shout out to our fighters, especially RTD. RTD has been an absolute pleasure to work with. He is a model player. They don't come along often. He is, being a little bit older brings a lot of maturity, but in the truth of it all, age is not everything. I just have to say that our League of Legends team and our League of Legends manager, Kyril, have done an amazing job with updating the community. When Tsunami left, then really took Skilly with them. I think Rashawn and Alltech and Bishu all stayed with us. And just, despite all the drama, it was the smoothest team breakup I ever saw, I think. And our players and our management, that just sort of moved forward in such a smooth way. So good job to that. So shout out to all those people. And I encourage people to play Smite. It's worth taking a look at because it's fun. May not be an esport, but it is fun. So definitely take a look at it. And thanks to the VV staff and the community. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, most definitely. If you want to play Smite and you did not win one of the beta keys tonight, go bother the people that won the beta keys, because everyone that gets a beta key gets 3 more. So if you bother them, and maybe if they're nice, they'll give you one. In the meantime, have fun playing some games this week. We've got about, a week and a half left until EVO. So I'm assuming we'll do some more coverage on that next week as we creep closer to the biggest fighting game event of the year. And I look forward to seeing you guys back here next week as we take on the 121st episode of the Losers Bracket. I'll be playing some League of Legends. If you want to join me, vVvParadise on there, add me, I'd love to play with you. And have a great week. We'll see you back here next Tuesday night, same time as always, 9 p.m. Eastern. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.